Thank you for choosing Grand Skills as your #1 online free professional course creator. For your notice, I want you to know that the instructor of this course has put in so much effort, time and money just to create this content for you to learn all for free. So please do well to click on the subscribe button, turn on the bell notification to all so you will be the first to get our video tutorials we'll be posting at all time. Also give it a thumbs up and drop a comment to help us improve more. Thank you.
Hello, you are welcome to Grand Skill International Catering Institute. I'm still your instructor in catering. My name is Oge Chinweke. Today we'll be talking on how to maintain a safe and secure working environment. What do we mean by working environment? Working environment is the environment where you stay to prepare your food, where you work, where you prepare your food as a chef. So this working environment, how do you make it safe? How do you make it secured for your own comfort to prepare your food perfectly? So today we'll be listing it out one after the other, how to make your environment safe and secured. So the #1 thing we want to talk about is, in case of fire outbreak, in the procedure of fire, what are you expected to do in case if there is a fire outbreak in your kitchen? Because there must be a fire problem in the kitchen, because that is one of the disadvantages we have in our kitchen. So in case if you have this fire outbreak, what are you expected to do? The #1 thing you should bear in mind is the fire brigade. In case if there is a fire outbreak, you quickly call the fire brigade. That's the first step you take. And the second step you take is do not panic in case there is a fire outbreak. I said in case if you have a fire outbreak, the first thing you do in the procedure of fire. In the procedure of fire, the first thing you do is to call the fire brigade. And secondly, you should not panic. Do not panic. Most of the time, the problem we have is fear. You should know that fire is a normal thing. And when there is a fire outbreak, don't be scared. Do not panic. That's the second thing you do. Do not panic. If you have a fire outbreak, don't panic. Don't be scared. Just relax, but be smart. Okay? Then the next thing you do is to warn others in the vicinity. In your environment, calmly warn others. Don't scream. Just warn others calmly, so you don't end up putting other persons into trouble. I said you should warn others in the vicinity. You warn others in the vicinity. In your environment, don't lure people into fire. Okay? Do not jeopardize your own safety. If you are not a professional in fire fighting, don't jeopardize your own safety. Don't put yourself into the fire because you want to fight fire. Okay? Be conscious about yourself. You are more important. If you are working in a catering environment, in a hotel, in the kitchen, make sure that you take care of yourself first. Very, very important. Do not jeopardize your own safety. Your own safety. Take care of yourself. Be conscious of yourself. Then the next thing you do is to follow the fire instruction of your establishment. Every establishment have their own fire instructions. Before you are employed in a catering establishment, you should be given an instruction like fire exit, in case if there's a fire outbreak, the exit where you follow. All these instructions, we also list them out in the course of these studies. So make sure you follow up every bit of this class so you can understand perfectly what we are talking about. Then the next thing you do is, if the fire is small, you use the appropriate extinguishers. We have different extinguishers for different fire. We have different levels of fire. You have the normal small extinguisher. You shouldn't use it if the fire is much. So if you see that this fire is out of your control, you know the next thing to do is to call the firefighting professionals. And if you are working in the kitchen, at all times, make sure you open your windows and your doors. Make sure that your doors and windows are open wide so that fresh air ventilations can come in. So if you are working in a catering environment, don't stop yourself. Open up your windows, open up your doors. Okay? Now, it is important that your passageways are kept clear. Make sure that your passageways are always clear and free from any obstacles. What do we mean by obstacles? All those things that can slip your leg, like spilling water on the floor, like keeping some equipment on the floor that can fall you or lead to accidents. So make sure that that your passageways are always clear and all those obstacles are removed out of your ways. Now, we want to talk about extinguishers. We have different extinguishers for different purposes. We have different extinguishers that we use for different purposes in the kitchen. So you don't use a little extinguisher to fight a big fire, and you don't use a bigger extinguisher to fight small fire. So we want to talk about how to use some procedures of using the fire extinguishers. We have these different extinguishers and the principal methods in which you use these extinguishers. Now, to extinguish a fire, number one thing you do is to starve the fire. How do you starve your fire? By removing the fuel from this fire. What do we mean by fuel? Fuel are those things that could add life to your fire, like peppers, like waterproof, whatever that can generate fire, that can add strength to your fire. Those things are fuel, are regarded as fuel. So when you starve the fire, you are removing the fuel from it. Then the next thing you do is to smother the fire. So you smother the fire by removing the air. By removing the air from the fire. We understand that air is oxygen, and oxygen adds to fire. So when there is a fire outbreak, the first thing that will go to your mind is, how do I starve this fire so that it will not escalate, so it will not get worse? So the first thing you do is to remove the fuel. Those things that could add as fuel to your fire, you remove it. And the second thing I said is to remove the air. By removing the oxygen, you can close your windows. So if there is no air, if there is no oxygen entering into the fire, automatically the fire dies. Okay? But if there is enough oxygen coming into the fire will keep increasing. We also have oxygen like water. Once there is water into the fire, it increases the fire. So all these things are the steps that you are supposed to take in case of fire outbreak. Then the last thing you do is to cool the fire. Cooling method is very, very important. But before you can go into cooling method, you must first of all starve the fire, smother the fire before you could cool the fire. Okay, how do you cool the fire? At this point is where you now add water. And when you add water to it, it does not have any effect. Now, when we are talking about fire extinguisher, this is fire extinguisher. This is fire extinguisher. This is a small fire extinguisher. We have a bigger ones that you can use to fight your fire. So with this little one, you can use it to fight your fire. How do you use it? You have a knot here where you pull. You pull it and you press it. Okay? When you pull it from this knot, when you pull it out, it goes out from here. then you press it from here and you sweep it all around the fire. Okay, so this is fire extinguisher. So I told her that we have three principal methods of extinguishing a fire. The number one method is the removing of the fuel supply. Fuel supply is those things that add fuel, that add life to your fire. So the first thing you do is to remove them. One of the things I said is papers, fabrics. Fuel supply, if it's electrical fire, fuel supply can also be your power socket. So if you notice a fire and if it's electrical fire, what you do is to go straight to your power socket and switch it off. So that thing is a fuel supply. It could add life to your fire and it will enable the fire to burn faster and more. Another example of fuel supply is if you are using a cylinder. Your cylinder is your fuel supply. So if you notice any fire outbreak in the kitchen, the first thing that should go into your mind is, where is this fire coming from? So the first thing you do is, if the fire is coming out from your cylinder, is to go straight to your cylinder and turn it off. So your cylinder is your fuel supply. If you are using a local stove, is to off your local stove. If you are using a firewood, what you do is to remove the wood from the fire. In this case, you are starving the fire. So the fire does not have strength. It does not have what to enable it to burn faster. So I told us that the next thing you do is to smother the fire. By smoothing the fire, you are removing the air, the oxygen from the fire. So another method that you can use to smother a fire, if the fire, for instance, is burning inside your pot. For instance, I believe most of us have had the experience that you are cooking and you begin to notice fire burning inside your pot. What you do at that point is to quickly use the lid of the pot and cover it tight. Once you cover it, you have smothered the fire. Now there's no oxygen entering. By then, make sure that you have removed the fuel supply by removing switching off your stove or your gas cooker or whatever you are using. Now when you now smother the fire, it dies off. But if you smother it, you have not removed the fuel supply. The fire will not die. It will keep burning. So before you smother, make sure you have removed the fuel supply. Then the next thing you do is the cooling method. We said that the cooling method at this point, you can use your fire blanket or you can use water. Now you have stopped the fire, you have smothered the fire, you can now cool the fire. At this point, you can pour water. Let's note, if there is a fire outbreak, for instance, it's electrical fire, and there is power in it, and you are pouring water. Note that water is oxygen. Once you pour water, you are adding more strength to the fire. But when you stop the fire by switching off the socket, then smother the fire. At this point, you can now cool it. The fire dies down automatically. So I've been able to tell us the method of extinguishing a fire. We listed them out: the starving method, the smothering, and the cooling method. Now in our kitchen, we also have some things that we call suspicious items. Suspicious items are those items that you suspect that could lead to accidents. Accident is not just when you enter a vehicle and the vehicle somersaults 2 times, 3 times, and everybody dies in it. That is not just an accident. You could also have accidents right inside your home, right inside your kitchen. So what we mean by suspicious items are those items you suspect that could lead to accidents. Now, in the event of seeing a suspect items, there are some procedures that you will also follow. Some of those procedures is: 1, do not panic. I told us earlier that most of the deaths that we have these days is out of fear. Don't panic, just relax. Take charge of the situation. That's the number one thing you do. And secondly, you calmly warn others in the vicinity. Don't go about screaming. Calmly warn others in the vicinity so they don't go into the fire. And thirdly, do not touch the item or allow others to do so. Don't just go and touch the items or allow another person to do so. Always inform the people that are in charge of that particular problem, so you don't get yourself into troubles. Now, another thing you will do in case you are employed in an establishment, in a hotel, in a catering establishment, is to inform your employer. When you see a suspect item, a broken switch, whatever that you know that could lead to accidents, please and please make sure you inform your employer so that it could be changed immediately. Okay. Now, we also talk about accidents. What is accident? Accident is all those unwanted occurrences in the kitchen. Those things that that could lead to death, that could lead to injuries. Those are accidents. Now, accidents may be caused by different things. There are so many things that could cause accidents in the kitchen.
Thank you for choosing Grand Skills as your #1 online free professional course creator. For your notice, I want you to know that the instructor of this course has put in so much effort, time and money just to create this content for you to learn all for free. So please do well to click on the subscribe button, turn on the bell notification to all so you will be the first to get our video tutorials we'll be posting at all time. Also give it a thumbs up and drop a comment to help us improve more. Thank you.